Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Monday, April 13th, 2026 council meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone. Just to note that I'm acting as chair tonight. Our Mayor Lachlan McDonald is away for professional development. So we'll open the meeting. Be it resolved that the April 13th, 2026 council meeting of the Township of South Glengarry now be opened at 6:31 p.m. Moved by Councillor McDonnell and Councillor Dworsky. All those in favor? Carried. And now we're going to sing O Canada, if everybody wouldn't mind standing. Thank you, everyone. So are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda. So moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky. Be it resolved that the Council of Township of South Glengarry approve the agenda as circulated or amended. Any errors or any amendments?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there are no amendments.
All right, nothing from council? Nope. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Dworsky, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meeting be adopted as circulated. Previous meeting minutes, March 23rd, 2026. Anybody notice any errors or omissions? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we have a delegation tonight. Delegation Susan Garros from St. Vincent de Paul, I believe, is going to speak to us. Very happy to have you here. Thank you. And the floor is yours. Go ahead. Make sure you keep the microphone fairly close. Okay. It helps us. So you can move it closer, whatever you need to do.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Can you hear me good enough? Okay. So thank you for having me tonight, Mr. Deputy Mayor, councillors, and members of the public behind me. So my name is Suzanne Gatto, and I am a volunteer at the food bank since 2022. And in 23, I decided to retire from my registered nursing position at Hawkesbury General to become a full-time retiree working at the food bank. And in 2024, I became the president of the board of directors of St. Vincent de Paul in Alexandria. So this little white pulpit desk is the area where I greet people when they come at the food bank. So it's a very narrow little corner. So volunteering at the food bank, what has it done or changed in my life? Well, it's been an eye-opener. An eye-opener, especially in regards to the people that we serve. People that do come to the food bank are from either North or South Glengarry. And basically what you see in the picture is what you get for a month's time when you come at the food bank. So you get some fresh and frozen, you get some canned and dry goods. And since for the last 3 years, I've been looking at the faces of those who suffer with food insecurity. And there are people that you would meet on the street and you probably wouldn't know that they're having a hard time. So who are they? Well, they're the one salary with one or two kids, the two salaries with one or two kids. They're the ones receiving Ontario Works, Ontario Disability, CPP, Old Age Security, or maybe both. They're couch surfers, they're homeless. They're the people that have had a bad luck event. Car broke down, the furnace broke down, maybe they lost their job. They're the new immigrants, and we do have some from the Ukraine, from Cameroon, from Mexico, from the Philippines, and even some that are seeking asylum. And they're also the young adults, the working class, the retired, or the pensioners. I don't think I've missed anyone, and it probably could be anyone in this room. So where's the food bank? I don't know if anyone has ever seen. We're located at the back of Sacred Heart Church in Alexandria. We're only open on Tuesdays from 9:30 to 11 and 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no appointment that's needed. But you need to wait in line, basically like what these people on the picture are doing. You're waiting in line, waiting for your turn to come in, because as you saw where my little pulpit was, there's not a heck of a whole lot of place. So I can maybe accommodate 3 people that are packing in their stuff at one time. So yeah, they wait in line, heat, snow, rain, they wait in line. So here's a few pictures. So if you were coming to the back of the Sacred Heart Church and you have the rectory, you would see that little door on the side. Picture in the middle is basically where they would stand, and these steps are when they come down to see me at the food bank. So it's quite a little bit cumbersome for those who are in a wheelchair or have issues with mobility. Here's a true story. So a man walks in, I would say early winter, walks in, it's his first time at the food bank, and he's got his hoodie on top of him, and I would say he's in his maybe mid-30s. And he walks up to me and he says, it's my first time, I don't know what you need from me, but I have a wife and 2 kids, and I work, but I just can't manage anymore. So I take him to my little area, and by the way, the fellow in the picture is not the fellow that came to me. This is just a picture online. So first question I ask him is, do you have a piece of ID? Because I need to know, are you from North or South Glengarry? So driver's license, rental agreement. And then I show him the food that he's going to get for the month. Second question is, oh, you told me you worked. So basically, coming to the food bank for statistical purposes and also to ensure that people are not abusing from the food bank, I will let them know if they're allowed once or twice a month at the food bank. So your type of revenue defines the number of visits at the food bank. So I gather that information, and then my second question to him is, well, did you bring any bags? Because you need to pack the stuff that I've got for you in those milk crates. And don't worry if you don't, I always have bags on hand. Oh, and by the way, you know, from what you see there, if there's something you don't like or don't eat, or for whatever reason, just leave it in the crate and I'll try to swap it for something that you do like. I leave the area for a minute, not very long. It's like here to the stairway, not even, to get some milk and snack for the kids. And upon my return, he's just sobbing. He has not moved. The tears are coming down his face. And I just say, what's wrong? And he says to me, I can't believe the food you're giving me. And I'm just like stunned. So basically, that guy really had to leave his ego at the door to come down those steps and ask for food. Enough of the story. Who likes numbers? And I'm sure as counselors, you do enjoy some numbers. So within North and South Glengarry, I have 342 households. That was at January 31st. Households that were in my logbook coming into the food bank. Between January and February, we gave out 596 baskets of food compared to 501 in 2025. 70 is the average number of visits, so the amount of people that I see in a day at the food bank, 70. 116 is the number of households with kids. That's 30%. That's half, or a third, pardon me, of the people that come to the food bank have kids. And we do 15 to 10 deliveries a week, depending. We do have a truck, and we do deliveries in town in Alexandria, but also out of town. We come to Williamstown. We come to different places in North and South and Glengarry. So why do many need our help? Why so many? Well, not everybody's lucky to have an employer or employee pension plan or benefit plan. Not everyone can put away for a rainy day. No one can predict that there's going to be layoff, downsizing, an illness, cancer, stroke, heart attack, an accident, a slip or fall, or even have mental illness. So all of this makes the numbers go up. And add to that reality is that if you are sick and you do end up on EI, reality sets in when you get that first paycheck from your EI. It is not salary replacement. And the bills start to pile up. And you start to say to yourself, what can I do without? What needs to be paid? The rent, the mortgage, the electricity, the gas, the insurance, the food? Where can I cut? So it's really a snowballing effect that this has on people. What about lower income families? Ontario Work and ODSP recipients are not living the life, I'm telling you. It pays for basic needs for food and shelter. And there's basically nothing left once you've paid that. CPP, all depends if you qualify. Did you work enough years to qualify for CPP? OAS, so old age security recipients, well, if you start at 65, well, it's $742 a month. Over 75, you'll get $816 a month. But if you don't have any RSPs, pay rent, buy food, have a car, pay for gas. And I haven't included the baby bonuses and the different government checks, federal, provincials that are sent out throughout the year, depending on your income. But those are very small and infrequent money comes in. So when you do the math, well, you kind of see that the expenses tip the scale, no matter how you do it. So why did I come here tonight? Well, I wanted you to gain knowledge on the food bank and St. Vincent de Paul and what we offer at the food bank. I wanted you to make you aware that monetary donations, however small they are, go 100% to buy food. It's not to pay for overhead for our delivery truck or store. It goes to buy food, 100%. We rely on the generous donations from our partners, whether it's hockey teams, school during Christmas time, different parishes. We do appreciate it. And we also buy local. So I won't buy from Walmart or Costco. I want to encourage my local people because they are here for us. And who are they? Well, it's the folks in Lancaster. It's Independent in Town, Giant Tiger, it's Leach Organics, and it's B&B. So you have all these local growers, and if I can get more, and if you have any suggestions of somebody that wants to sell us their produce, we'll look at it definitely. On a broader scale, I'm also part of Food Banks United, which is a group of food bank operators from SDNG. Last year, they came up with Voices United 2, which was a food bank client speaks out on food bank, how they respond. And basically, it was how it was getting so hard for food banks to provide to users. And what is food insecurity, you might say? Well, it's the inadequate or the lack thereof of food due to financial constraints. It's really a public health issue. You don't eat enough or you don't eat well enough, you'll have health issues. It's also exacerbated by stressors, so disability, precarious work, the cost of living, the pandemic didn't help, illnesses, evictions, you name it. They all have an effect on food insecurity. And it also comes from inadequate social assistance rates. Food insecurity is across Canada. You probably heard on the news how food banks are having a hard time, and it's across Canada. The health unit estimates that 1 in 5 households is experiencing food insecurity. 35% of food bank users, recipients are children. That's according to the health unit. For my little food bank, we're at 30%. Some food banks are experiencing declining resources to respond to the demand. Not us, not yet. We are in a good position. Thank you to our partners. So what am I looking for? Well, as members representing South Glengarry, I'm asking for your help to represent and help us raise the issue on food insecurity, both at the federal and the provincial level. We need to find solutions because right now we're a Band-Aid on an open wound that is bleeding. So with the rising cost of living, don't pretend it's not happening in Glengarry, and whether that's in the sand or the snow, because when I was preparing my slides, it was still snowing, so hence the snow. But basically, we cannot pretend it's not happening in our town. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very timely, I think, and it's good to hear. If you don't mind waiting a minute, there might be some questions. I don't know if any of the council has questions or comments they'd like to address to you. Thank you. Councillor Dworsky.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Lang. Thank you very much for coming to present this to us. I've been very fortunate in that I haven't had a chance to visit your food bank, but it's great that you came here to explain the services you provide and who's being impacted, particularly because, I mean, I think lots of folks here help support some of those food bank drives, like what you mentioned, like what the schools do at Christmas time, you know, actively supporting that. So I think it's really helpful to see the impact and how it helps within our community, and also to understand how you use what's donated or the funds donated and how you're working with local businesses as well. I think that's a really important piece of information that you've shared with us tonight. So thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. No, I just wanted to say thank you as well for coming and giving us a little insight and a peek behind the curtains, I guess, for ourselves. And I can think of a few organizations, and maybe I'll get Ms. Compo to just maybe pass some of them along, and some ideas of places to reach out to. So
That'd be great.
Thank you very much,
you.
and thanks for everything you and your team do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that and pass it on as well. And I know one of the organizations that I belong to, we donated a bit, I think, during COVID, and, you know, because at that time everybody was, it was front and center in everybody's mind, and I don't, I'm off the organization now, but I think I'm going to check, see if they're still doing it.
Okay.
Because these kind of things, we don't want to lose that,
Yeah.
you know, especially now it sounds like it's needed more than ever. So
Yeah.
appreciate it
Yeah.
very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 7B is a proclamation, and we had decided last month to do this. So whereas proclamation for Community Living Month, which is May, whereas Community Living Glengarry strives to ensure that all people live in a state of dignity, share all elements of living in the community, and have the opportunity to participate effectively, and whereas for over 70 years, Community Living Ontario has worked to bring people and the communities together by supporting individuals as they develop their capacity to live, learn, work, and participate in all aspects of living in the community, as well as to develop its capacity and welcome and support people who have not always had the same opportunities to participate in community life in a meaningful and productive way. And whereas Community Living Glengarry provides support and services to people with developmental challenges in our area, and whereas during the month of May, Community Living Glengarry is promoting public awareness of the physical and social barriers that keep individuals with developmental challenges from participating in the social, recreational, and economic world around them. Now therefore, we, the Township of South Glengarry, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Community Living Month, and encourage all citizens to become more knowledgeable about people with developmental challenges and to welcome them as equal members of our community. All right, we're on to action request 8A, official plan amendment number 30. Ms. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. If you don't mind, I'm going to take maybe a little longer than usual to work through my staff report to make sure that it's clear clear in terms of what I'm recommending. So the purpose of this staff report this evening is to speak to an official plan amendment application that was filed, and it's known as official plan amendment number 30. This is for the property that's located at part of Lot 8, Concession 9, in the geographic township of Lancaster. It's fronting on Fourth Line Road and Concession 10. And it has 2 small sheds on it, but it's primarily a vacant parcel of property. The subject property that I just described is approximately 27.7 acres, and it's predominantly tree covered, but it was formerly used as a salvage yard. Not all of it in its entirety, but a big portion of it was, and the use discontinued approximately 20 years ago. The purpose of the official plan amendment number 30 was to redesignate the salvage yard district designation portion of the subject property to rural district. However, it was initiated because the applicants for this application have a goal to establish a recreational commercial establishment, specifically being an indoor firing range facility with accessory uses being a retail store, a training facility, and a canteen. And if this property is redesignated from salvage yard district to rural district, the rural district is supportive of establishing a recreational commercial uses. The report that's before you this evening is specifically to deal with the official plan amendment only, not the zoning bylaw amendment. So basically, there would be a couple of options that we would have in this situation where, knowing that this property had the designation of salvage yard and it has not been in operation for many years, when we do official plan amendments or housekeeping amendments, we could have taken this property salvage yard designation and recommended to go to a rural district. And yes, it would have been done through a public process, but it would have been done not specific to that property. It would have been a much broader amendment to the official plan. And it was something that we hadn't done because we just didn't have a lot of information about this site. When the applications were filed, the applicants filed what was called an environmental site assessment that looked at the contamination of this property as well as the property directly across the road, because that was also formerly used and owned by the salvage yard operator. And there was evidence in that report that there was no significant contamination found on the site. So that really gives us a good feeling when you're making a recommendation to change it from salvage yard to rural district that we can support it. You'll see in the staff report, I explain, how this proposed amendment would conform to the provincial planning statement, the official plan policies, and why it would make better sense to change that designation. But I also included a summary of the public consultation process. Because an official plan amendment application and zoning bylaw amendment application were filed simultaneously, we hold one public meeting. And you may recall we had county staff with us because we do those processes together. So at the public meeting, there were several people in attendance that spoke against the proposed development. And just to summarize that, the public consultation process, when we receive these applications, we're obligated to notify the public within 120 meters around the subject property, and that's a direct mail out. We also place an ad in a newspaper, and we place a sign on the subject property, as well as include information on the township's website. At the public meeting, there were 29 members of public in attendance that signed in. 10 members spoke at the meeting. 6 members of the public spoke in opposition to the proposed use. 2 members asked questions, and 2 members spoke in favor of the proposed use. And we also heard from the applicant and their agents directly. Since then, we have received a petition containing 33 signatures representing 24 properties within the area of the subject property, and that petition is to request council to dismiss the proposed use based in the interest of the public good. To date, we've received 77 written comments regarding the proposed amendments. 5 comments are in opposition and 72 comments are in favor. And I explain in the report, I basically summarize what those comments are. But what I want to point out this evening is that we are listening to those public comments, we're hearing those public comments, but we are at a 2-step planning process. And this is why I'm recommending the official plan amendment to be approved, is because it really does make good planning sense to remove that salvage yard designation from the subject property and make the entire property the rural district. It would allow all the area to be compatible. It would have the same district designation. If you look at the map that I included, you'll see a large area of that portion of our municipality is designated rural district. Therefore, it will attract very like uses if this is approved. For the members of the public, our council does not make this decision. And the reason is because the official plan document is a document that's approved by county council. So tonight's recommendation is for me to recommend to South Glengarry Council to consider passing a resolution recommending to county council to approve this official plan amendment. The next step in the process, depending on your result this evening, or regardless of your decision this evening in terms of passing or not passing the resolution, it does need to go to county council for a decision. It is my understanding that county planning staff are planning on bringing a report to the April 20th council meeting, which is a week from today. And then at that point, county council will have a chance to make a decision, and they will either approve, refuse, or maybe defer if they feel they require additional information. And if this application is approved at the county level, it just means that the designation will change from the salvage yard and bring that entire property into the gray as opposed to the pink. It doesn't mean that they are dealing with the specific use. My intention is to bring a staff report to council regarding the zoning bylaw amendment at the second meeting in May, providing it does go forward to county council in April. We'll watch the process and see how it plays out. And I still will have chance to deal with members of the public if they have any questions or have any additional comments. And we will certainly be working on this project until such time we bring that report to council. So I hope that's clear, Mr. Deputy Mayor, but if there's any questions on the process, I can certainly answer those questions.
Thank you very much. Before I go to questions or comments, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. The staff report 2026-042 be received and the Council of the Township of South Glengarry recommend to the Council of the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry to approve the proposed official plan amendment for the property legally described as part of Lot 8, Concession 9 in the geographic Township of Lancaster, now in the Township of South Glengarry, County of Glengarry, fronting Fourth Line Road, County Road, which is County Road 23, Concession 10, PIN number 671530439, to redesignate portion of the subject property from salvage yard district designation to the rural district designation. All right, questions, comments? Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, or Deputy Mayor, I'll just, I guess, I think I've got the gist of it. I'll just, for those maybe in the audience, all we're doing tonight is changing the zoning to remove the salvage yard so that this property essentially will never be able to be used as a salvage yard. We're not voting on the total, or the rezoning, correct? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you through you, Deputy Mayor Lang. Thank you, Ms. Haley. I think you said it, and Councillor McDonnell also highlighted the fact that what we're doing today is, although linked to the project that would require a zoning change for what we're looking at today is only this official plan amendment, but which, as I understand it, would now put that land consistent with its, the neighboring properties. I guess I was hoping you could just speak to if there are any downsides to proceeding, like again, putting a future zoning request aside. Are there any downsides to proceeding with recommending this official plan amendment to counties?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I do not, and I'll explain why. In 2006 was our first United Counties official plan, and at that time, previous designations and zones were brought forward into that document. In 2009, South Glengarry did their first consolidated zoning bylaw, bringing together Charlottenburg Township, Lancaster Township, and the village. And at that time, we actually removed the zoning from the salvage yard, meaning that anybody couldn't just come in and start operating again without zoning approvals. And we did that on purpose because it's not always the best use to have. So you want to be selective and have people go through a process to establish a salvage yard. Given the possible contaminants and, you'd want to have separation distances from houses and things like that, it was important to not continue that zoning. The official plan designation remained, and so the reason why I don't feel there's any downside is because it's almost like this designation is in isolation a little bit, where you can't operate a salvage yard. You'd have to go through a zoning amendment to do so. The official plan would support it because that designation exists. Once we remove this designation, and if county council does approve it, then there'll be no opportunity to return a salvage yard. You will only have the permitted uses that are permitted within that rural district designation.
Thank you. No more questions? All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Moving on to 9A, zoning bylaw amendment 05-2026, and I'm going to read the resolution. Moved by Councillor McDonell, seconded by Councillor Jaworski, that staff report 2026-043 be received, and that the bylaw 2026-25, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 3809 to rezone the property legally described as parts of lot 32 to 34, concession 1 in the geographic township of Lancaster, now in the township of South Glengarry, county of Glengarry, located at 20650 South Service Road, PIN number 671350805, from rural to rural exemption 27, to permit a residential garage to be used for the storage purposes and as the main building use. Be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 13th day of April 2026. The Council of Township of South Glengarry confirms that no comments from the public were received on this application, therefore there was no effect on the decision. Ms. Haley, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So this staff report is a little bit different because now we're speaking to a requested zoning amendment. And you've already described the parcel of property. It's east of the village of Lancaster on the South Service Road. It currently contains existing structure related to a kiln. However, the applicant or the property owner was requesting a building permit to create a residential storage garage for additional purposes and storage purposes that we felt was not really in compliant with the zoning bylaw, and it was time to bring this into compliance. So the applicant agreed to file a request to request permission to have this building be the main permitted use. The unique situation in this scenario is that the property directly to the south of the area that's identified in black is also owned by the applicant, and that's where their residence is. So the structure is going to be very close by, easily accessed, and will be compatible and be used with the proposed structure. In the staff report, I do explain how this conforms to the provincial planning statement and the official plan. So I'm not going to get into those details, but as you heard in the recommendation that you read, during the public meeting, there was no members of the public, or we didn't receive any letters of support or opposition. I did receive one phone call from a neighboring property owner and really just seeking clarification for the purpose of the storage building. And we've circulated this application to the Ministry of Transportation because of how close it is to the 401. We're obligated to do so. And they have no concerns, and they recommend that, or they require a permit to be applied for if they proceed with this storage structure. So I'm recommending this application be approved, and it will be a good fit for the parcel of property and not create any incompatibility issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Jaworski?
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Lang. With the fact that this property already had like the sawmill, why in this case is this garage considered a residential garage versus like a storage shed that's accessory to that use?
Thank you for your question through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. That's an excellent question. And the reason is in the rural zone, we have a list of permitted uses. And one of the permitted uses on a rural property that's is a forestry use, and sawmill is actually a permitted independent use. So when that building permit was applied for, we felt that fit within kind of the definition and the general provisions type thing. When someone is proposing to build an accessory garage that's to be used for storage purposes, that really is going to have storage that for a dwelling, that is not a permitted use. You always want either a house, a single detached dwelling, to be the primary use, or you want maybe farm buildings or something else that's on that list. And because it doesn't appear on the list, and because the applicant was quite transparent with what the proposed use was, it was best for them to go through this zoning amendment. Let's say this applicant wants to sell this parcel of property sometime down the road. It actually puts them in a better position if they have permission for this use, because then they know it conforms to zoning. So that would be the reason. So we don't want accessory structures on vacant parcels without having a primary use.
Thank you. Anything further? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? That's carried. So moving on to 9B, proposed civic addressing bylaw. Mr. Raby, I'll read the motion. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky, that staff report 2026-044 be received, and a bylaw 2026-26 being a bylaw to establish the placing and the maintaining of a civic addressing system for buildings and vacant land within the limits of the Township of South Glengarry be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 13th day of April 2026. Go ahead, Mr. Raby.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor. So before council tonight is a new civic addressing bylaw. We have worked fairly close with our fire chief, Mr. Robertson, as well as Ms. Haley, to address outdated civic blade language, as well as the fees within our current bylaw. So just in terms of a little bit of history, during COVID, our supplier, Dave's Reliable Signs, notified us that the 4-inch PVC blade material that we're accustomed to was unavailable, thus forcing administration to adopt 6-inch material at the time as the new standard. And over the last few years, we have received numerous price increases in regards to civic blades, posts, and caps. Most of them have been relatively small, but in obviously numerous increments. And when we look at last year, 2025, the township lost approximately $2,900 in civic number sales when we compare expenses and the revenue collected. So administration is proposing the following changes to the bylaw. We're looking at the removal of vacant land severances needing to obtain a new civic number as a condition of consent. A revised fee schedule that reflects the municipality's current costs. The addition for the chief building official to adjust the fee schedule annually on January 1st to keep up with price increases to the township. And a change in civic number size to adopt the new 6-inch civic blades that we're currently issuing. We're also looking to revise some language that accurately reflects how the municipality assigns and interprets civic number requirements. And just to touch on those quickly, that means vacant land shall be zoned rural or agricultural with a permitted agricultural use to obtain a farm blade and post. Civic numbers are assigned to the principal or the primary building that's considered the principal use for each property. And the address plaques will not require township approval, which they previously did. However, homeowners, if they choose to make a custom blade, are required to still meet the requirements of the bylaw. And then finally, we've added administrative monetary penalties to the bylaw. And this is just to assist staff when it comes to enforcing requirements of the bylaw. So subject to any questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments? Nothing? I don't think I read the resolution, Jen, have I? I did? Okay. I do have one comment. For the custom-made ones, do they have to have the issued one as well, or can they have just the custom one?
So that would be, if you're within 5 meters of the property line, your building, you could go, that would be an either or. You'd be permitted to have the township approved one or a custom-made plaque.
Okay. And I did notice you had specifications that, you know, dark letters against white, light background, and so forth. But it just, the ones that we issue are very reflective from past experience at, you know, 80 kilometers an hour in a fire truck. You're looking for something that's easy to see at night. And if the others are not reflective, it sometimes is, you know, you're hoping that the headlights actually shine on it and that you can read it because it doesn't shine as well. But that's my only comment. All those in favor? This is carried. Thank you. We're moving on to 9C, Charland Recreation Center Partnership Agreements. Ms. Harbers, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. The staff report 2026-045 be received, and a bylaw 2026-27 being a bylaw to enter into agreements with the Charland Skating Club, Charland Minor Hockey, and Glengarry Brigade be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 13th day of April 2026. Go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So this report is just regarding the partnership agreements, the renewal. So these agreements have been in place for 4 years and have operated on a 1-year term. So this new set of agreements would be in place for 3 years. I'll just go over the main changes in these new agreements. That one being that it will now be for 3 years. Another adjustment is the proof of sale that must be provided by the stipulated deadline, or else it will be deemed as unsold inventory. That way, any unsold inventory will be brought back to the township for reassignment at administration's discretion. Any reassigned advertisement spaces will be for that season only, unless it's an in-ice logo advertisement, which will remain reassigned for the remainder of the term, just given the costs associated with creating those in-ice logos is quite high. And then the deadline to submit the proof of sale is June 5th for the in-ice logos, and then the remainder of the ads is July 31st. And the other change is the reduction in cost required for the in-ice logos. It has been decreased by $250 to support sales for the upcoming agreement term to try to help with those sales. So we've worked with each organization to review the updated agreements to ensure that they're aware of these changes and are able to, you know, agree in principle to the terms, given that obviously there's 3 different organizations that these agreements reflect. And I guess just mentioning that obviously there's a bit of a tight timeline with this, where it would give organizations 8 weeks to obtain sponsors for in-ice logos and 16 weeks for the remainder of the advertisements. So we're hoping to move forward with these agreements so that the organizations can start obtaining their advertisements for the upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councillor Jaworski and then Councillor McDonnell.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Lang. Thank you very much for the report, and I do appreciate what staff is trying to do here in terms of having, you know, agreements and having things very organized. I'll repeat something I think I said last year, is that I do feel that we are sort of trending a bit too much in terms of being too involved in the process. I don't think we need to necessarily devote so much of staff's time to this endeavor and being quite so prescriptive. I mean, I think a situation where it's, you know, these are the boards to use just a quick term, that, this group gets, and the other group gets, and they can sell them for whatever price they want. I mean, I think that's kind of how it works in free markets, and I think that would, as much as that, it could cause concern between the different user groups, in the end, that's how these things work. So I would think, and, to take off some of the burden here on staff. However, I think I'm in the minority in having that view. So assuming we go with an agreement, again, that is fairly prescriptive, my understanding is that when we did prescribe the increased prices for different assets, that, prior to the increase in pricing, like, for example, the in-house logos, some of the partners were able to sell them, and then at the increased price, they were no longer able to sell them. So, and I would say of all the assets, the in-ice logos are the ones that are of least value in our arena, because unfortunately our water quality is not such that we have great visibility. And as I understand, it's cheaper to also do, a similar in-ice logo in Cornwall, and you'd have better visibility on it. So I think that's kind of an example where I think we've overdone it in terms of increasing the prices. And I think in that case, I would be in favor of decreasing what our minimum cost is for in-ice logos even further. If other members of council are not supportive of that, an idea I'd like to float is that then if there's a specific partner that really likes the in-house logos and they want to try and get that higher price for it, then then trade, for lack of a better word, the assets, saying, well, if a group doesn't want the in-ice logos, then give them 2 boards in exchange, basically. Again, to try and keep a certain element of balance between the user groups. Again, I think in an ideal world, there would be an opportunity to rebalance the assets that are available based on the utilization of the different groups in the arena. But so 2 thoughts there: either reduce the cost of the in-ice logos further, or look at rejigging how the assets are apportioned, giving more board ads to the groups that are historically have done better at selling those versus the in-house logos, considering the increased prices.
Thank you. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm of the opinion, I think we've belabored this quite a few times over the last, I was thinking about it, kind of trying to put perspective into when this discussion all started. I think we're close to 5 years we've been working on this at the very least, even when it's the last term of council we worked on this. I think let's run 3 years of this agreement. If we really see a lot of struggle with pricing in ice logos and things like that, I think we're getting too into the weeds. Staff has done, I think, a good job of setting out ground rules. I think we have to be more or less very objective with who's getting what, where exactly you're getting located. I think it just takes any of the concern out of it. And I'm still a firm believer that in 3 years after this goes through, we can kind of take a step back at that point, and everybody's going to have more or less adjusted or found their niche. And at that point, maybe the organizations are going to come with better suggestions for us after they've seen a few years of it. I think if the organizations decide there's some trading they can do because one's not selling in nice logos as easily as another, maybe they can have that conversation and a year in and maybe decide at that point. But I think we've belabored this enough, and I think let's see what 3 years does for us. It's not an eternity. It's not even through the next term of council. So let's see where we can get in 3 years, and maybe come back with some suggestions directly from the user groups at that point.
Thank you. I'll make a comment just because there's a possibility this could be a tie, and I might have to break it if it is. So my thought is, I've talked to 2 of the user groups. Both were okay with it. Maybe not saying it was perfect, but they didn't know of any way to make it better. The 3rd group I did not have a contact for, so I was not able to talk to them. So I guess I'm okay with the way it is. Anyway, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's passed. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Lang, there was a clarifying question that I had from one of the user groups that I just was hoping that I could ask so that Ms. Rose could explain it. It had to do with
Go ahead.
Okay, and my apologies, I didn't think you were going to call the question right away. It had to do with staff reviews it annually, but it only comes back to council annually. I mean, every 3 years, so the pricing is locked in for the 3-year term?
The agreement is for 3 years. However, as mentioned in there, we can review it annually, but unless there are some major issues, it will not come back to council until the 3 years is up. And no changes can be made unless it comes back to council.
Thank you. Sorry, maybe you had your hand up at the end there and I was going too quick, but. We're moving on to 9D, road widening bylaws. Ms. Campo, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Dworsky, seconded by Councillor McDonell, that staff report 2026-46 be received, and that bylaws 2026-28, 2026-29, and 2026-30, being bylaws to accept certain lands as road allowance within the township of South Glengarry, and to dedicate same to the public use as public highways, be read a first, second, third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 13th day of April, 2026. Go ahead, Ms. Campo.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and through you. The bylaws that are before you this evening are standard bylaws that come forward as conditions of severance applications. So periodically, I'll wait till I have a few to bring them all at once. So there are 3 this evening. If you have any questions about the severance portion, I would kindly direct those to Ms. Haley, but otherwise, these are just typical severance road widening bylaws.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor McDonell?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, just wondering where we were at. I believe we had a committee of the whole be a while ago, and we've had some staff change since. Just wondering maybe an update on, we had a discussion at that meeting about possibly paying for some of these road allowances that we're more or less expropriating, but I know it's been a concern of yours maybe over the years, so I figured I'd echo it, seeing as you're sitting in the chair seat tonight. So.
And I do not have thank you for that. I do not have an update for you or anything. It has been something I've been concerned about, but I have not moved forward with it very much. So maybe a little push for me to get on it, if I think it's serious enough that I should be. And I do, so I will get on a little more.
Maybe something for us to kind of bring up in passing, maybe at our committee of the whole meeting next week, as we're meeting with infrastructure. So, I'm sure some of our existing staff can bring Mr. Kuhn up to date on that.
Good idea. Anything further? All those in favor? It's carried. And we're moving on to 9E, purchase of 195 Military Road. I'll read the report. Moved by Councillor Dworsky, seconded by Councillor McDonell, that staff report 2026-47 be received, and that bylaw 2026-31 being a bylaw to authorize the purchase of the property municipally addressed as 195 Military Road be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 13th day of April 2026, and furthermore that the purchase price of $15,000, including applicable HST, be funded from the general reserve. And I think CEO Fothrop is going to speak to this.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Lang, and through you, this report is seeking council approval to proceed with the purchase of the land of 195 Military Road, which to the general public would be sort of commonly more recognized as the Lancaster Library property. The township currently owns and maintains the library building. However, the St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, in fact, owns the property. And so the church had contacted the township to see if they would be interested in purchasing that property. And so through those discussions, we have a agreed upon price of $15,000, and this report is simply to seek council approval to proceed. If approved, we'll notify our solicitor to execute a purchase and sale agreement with the church and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign those documents.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. So we're moving on to 10A, Asset Management Plan Update. Mr. Kuhn. I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor, oh, sorry, that's for the next one. This is just key information, so no resolution tonight. Go ahead, Mr. Kuhn. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So this is an item that I'm sure most of council are happy to see come forward. We've been talking about this for a little while. This is the asset management plan as part of OREG 588-17. So this, when council accepts this report, essentially brings us into compliance with the asset management regulation. This plan itself, like I know there is some high, pretty big numbers located throughout the document. It's all of our assets, and this document essentially is supposed to give administration and council insight onto what our assets are and help us develop strategies, long-term strategies to fund all of our assets and maintain our proposed levels of service. So some of the large items, especially when it comes to the transportation infrastructure, it's really looking at like-for-like replacements, and we've discussed for a number of other certain assets, like the realignment of James McDougall Drain, looking at potential box culverts for some of our actual physical bridge structures. So the numbers are high, but we're hoping there's an opportunity to maybe optimize and reduce some of those long-term costs. But in any case, this will help us moving forward in the long run to maintain our proposed level of services and to fund those accordingly moving forward.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councillor Dworsky, go ahead.
Thank you, through Deputy Mayor Lang. Thank you very much, Mr. Kuhn, for putting this together. I know it's quite the endeavor. There's lots of pieces to it. It's quite it's quite extensive, and obviously it's a very important thing for us to have. And as you were just mentioning there, in terms of like the value of some of these assets and how rationalization is such an important thing for us to keep looking at, because bridges, for example, are just so expensive, and if we have plans of wanting to do more hard surfaces as much as we'd like across the township, we have to find ways to rationalize. So what I'd like in terms of this document is, I know again that it's sort of been a living document. There's been some parts that were developed earlier, and now some that have been updated. Prior to finalizing it, I would like to, if we could ensure that sort of all the date basis for all the different pieces of data across the document be sort of harmonized, so that everything is sort of as of this date, or if that's not possible, to annotate it, where if there might be a discrepancy, based on whether it was using 2025 data or 2024 data, that sort of thing. So, because I think there's a few places where it's not consistent necessarily, and also, and for certain classes of assets, it's very detailed in terms of what the replacement cost is and the timing versus, for example, the roads. On the road side, I know that's very complex, but it's not really presented is at a very, very high level. So maybe there's a midway in between those two where we could include the roads data in the final document. Those are two things that I'd like to suggest before we finalize it, just so that when we have this document going forward, and if we have to give it to the we have to give it to the province, but for specific things, if we're relying on it, just to make sure we have that internal consistency in it. Thanks.
Thank you. If you want to make comments, go ahead.
For sure. So through you, Deputy Mayor Lang. So that's going through this exercise has really kind of highlighted that we probably could improve on some of the way that we're looking at some of our assets and harmonize, and like you say, to kind of have an apples to apples comparison going through the different classes of assets. So it's something that we're going to look at going forward to make sure that everything's consistent and the data is easily reflected in the same manner, so you're not looking at different kind of layouts and setups for the different asset classes.
Thank you. Councillor McDowell, anything? No. I'll just mention that there's a couple of things I found, and I'll send them to you. Just some of them maybe just a typo, like we don't have 27 hectares of parkland for every 1,000. It's 2.7, and a few little things like that. So could I just ask council that we get comments in, if we could get them in by the end of this week? Would that be good for you to be able to get this kind of cleaned up and brought back to us? We'd like to get it passed as soon as possible. We've been pushing for this, and we're very appreciative that it's here, but we just kind of like keep it moving forward. So that's good. If everybody could get their comments in by the end of the week, and then next meeting, hopefully we'll have a little more cleaned up version, and we can move on. Appreciate it very much. So we're on to consent agenda. I don't believe there was anything pulled from the consent agenda. So moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky, that be it resolved that the council accepts the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Boards and committees, I believe is next. Yes. STG County Council. We haven't had a county council meeting since our last meeting, but we did have a committee of a whole meeting on Tuesday, April the 7th. Not as well attended as I thought it might have been. We had a good lineup of speakers. 4 people presented. 2, 3, 4, 5 people presented, sorry. But I thought there would have been maybe more members of the public, and the committee of a whole was to address some of the concerns around the tree planting on county roads, and people that, there was quite a few people that wanted to speak in favor of it and how they thought it could move forward. So anyway, if you're interested in that, it's something that might be worth watching. It is online. Other than that, there hasn't been an airport meeting. Conservation Authority did have a meeting. We did approve, we talked a little bit about the amalgamation of the conservation authorities. We have a transition committee set up, but we still don't know too much about how it's going to move forward, but it is moving forward. We approved a draft communications plan for 2025 to 2028. We'll see how that goes after amalgamation, but we have to kind of move forward with things anyway, and we're still hoping that our office will remain there and be quite viable. And there was a few grant submissions applied for, nothing too major if I remember right, but nice to see that staff is continuing to work looking for grants to continue moving projects forward. Anybody else with any? Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we had we did not have an archives meeting. That's next week, so I guess for the following meeting, either myself or Councillor Jaworski will have an update. We did have an Ag Advisory Committee meeting not that long ago, probably pushing 3 weeks now, and we discussed a couple of topics, mostly presentations from the Roads and Infrastructure Department on bridges and getting some input from the ag community as to widths and talking about some of the challenges we face as a municipality and the costs of replacing some of these assets, or even in some cases making them larger, and in others even considering having to close some of these structures that are less used. And there were a few ideas there as far as I guess recommendations that maybe if there is a future closure that the township is considering, that it maybe be brought back to that committee. Just sometimes it doesn't look like a high road count, but there's a lot of traffic maybe in fall and spring, so some helpful suggestions there, as well as some talk about some unopened road allowances and future uses, and maybe the input from the farm community, whether they think there's some use to the township or use to local farmers, or their opinion on public use as well. So some good conversation happened there, and look forward to seeing some of that come back to council and maybe to a future meeting. So very good, very well attended as well.
Thank you very much. Anything further? Councillor Dworsky?
I was not able to attend the last Environment Committee meeting, but were you able, Deputy Mayor Lang?
I was there, actually. Didn't think I was going to do a report, so I haven't made anything up, and I would have to take me a while to go back and find the agenda. So
For next time.
So we'll do it for next time, if you don't mind. And then, by then you'll be able to do it, or I'll talk to you at a time. So sorry about that. I wasn't thinking that, and I never have to do those because you always do those. All right, so that's it for boards and committees, I believe. Notice of motion, council conduct, code of conduct review. So this is a motion that's moved by Councillor McDonnell. I don't have a seconder. Councillor Dworsky, would you be interested in seconding it to get it on the floor? Okay, Councillor Dworsky will second it. Whereas council has expressed a desire to align the Township of South Glengarry's Council's Code of Conduct with the applicable legislative framework, and whereas alignment with the provincial standard promotes clarity, consistency, and ease of understanding for members of council, staff, and the public, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Township of South Glengarry directs administration to review and revise the existing Code of Conduct for members of council and local boards, Policy 03-18, to ensure alignment with the provincial standards and bring forth a draft updated policy for council's consideration. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor McDonnell?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. It's been brought to our attention that our council code of conduct does not align necessarily with the legislative framework from the province and could potentially become an issue in the future. It was my kind of thought that we bring it back, or that staff bring it back maybe and take a look at the provincial legislation that requires us to have this code of conduct and piece of legislation anyways locally. So be maybe some consistency between us, the province, and I think there's some, maybe we're a little bit inconsistent even with some of the United Counties lower tiers. So anyways, just a thought after a bit of careful review. So if we could bring that back, or if I get the support to bring that back, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any comments, Councillor Dworsky?
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Lang. Yeah, I think it is important that we align with like the legislation in place from the province as much as possible. And if we don't align, I think it's we may want to make sure that that is very clear and that the reasons for that are also very clear. And so I think in this case, there might be a lack of clarity on why we are not consistent with the province's legislation on this one. So yeah, I'm supportive of having a review of it, and then we'll have a full understanding, and then we can choose to align completely, or if there's conditions where we think we should not, that we should be more restrictive, then we can have that discussion.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And we are at, make sure I got this. We are at closed session. So moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky. Be it resolved that council convenes a closed session at 7:38 p.m. to discuss the following items under Section 239 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001. A meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is a position, a plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations and litigation or potential litigations, specifically instruction for negotiators. All those in favor? It's carried. And we are moving to close. Welcome back. Just coming out of closed session. Read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Dworsky, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that council rise and reconvene into open session at 8:13 PM without reporting. All those in favor? It's carried. Be it resolved, moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky. Be it resolved that administration be directed to carry out all actions as specified in the closed session minutes. All those in favor? It's carried again. Thank you. And moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky. Be it resolved that bylaw 2026-32, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read a first, second, and third time. Passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 13th day of April 2026. All those in favor? It's carried. And just before we adjourn, I forgot to mention something during the first part of the meeting, so hopefully there's still people tuned in, but I just wanted to congratulate Joshua Hutton. He's moving on from the township. We're going to be sorry to see him go, but wish him all the best in his future endeavors. So very much appreciated, Joshua. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Dworsky. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry adjourn to the call of the chair at 8:14 PM. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you, everyone.